Hello, beautiful souls. This is going to be a new Divine Masculine series, and I have put a lot of time and energy into pulling in the exact message for today's Divine Masculine. I have done a lot of videos and sessions for Divine Feminine, just because I think they're the ones that tend to reach out. That does not mean the Divine Masculine is not ascending, it's not feeling things. So, this series, if you have a Divine Masculine that you can pop these in, pull up these videos, let's watch a video, get them in the room, expose them to some things that they probably won't be exposed to on their own. I think that's very loving behavior, if you ask me. So, if you have a Divine Masculine watching right now, I want to tell you directly, you are not broken. You, the man in the room, you're not broken. There's simply no words to describe adequately what you're processing and the phases that you're going through right now. The English language is subpar when it comes to that. There is a part of you that has to reconcile the wounding of the past, and I say that not just your past, the collective divine masculine past has wounding. Embrace the healing, allow it to be transformative, allow the growth, and find your footing because you are emerging. And it is best navigated when you take possession of your own path and start to navigate as you're steering the vessel, not just being tugged behind it, right? So the real shift is happening in all of us. This is not a flip of the switch. This happens gradually, and it has been happening. So I venture to say, whether you knew what was happening or not, some things that come up, you're going to go, oh, yeah, I felt that. I just didn't know what it was. And the knee jerk reaction for men is to just toss it away. If it's not like broken board or part of code that needs to be rewritten or something with an action item attached, they're not going to really give it much time. But this is where we come in, right, Divine Feminines? So men are tired of the shit show. Truly embodied souls within the masculine frame are tired. They're tired of performing. They're tired of waiting to be seen. And they're tired of trying very hard to be respected for who they are versus being lumped into a big category of villains. So their value, their authenticity, it's not a cookie cutter, right? We are all individuals, but we have characteristics that are in that grouping of divine feminine and divine masculine are very vital to our evolution on a soul basis. They're not interested in shallow cookie cutter women. A true divine masculine has no interest in that. They want authenticity, they want real, they want the mundane, normal life that is centered and grounded and loving and passionate all at the same time. The emotional suppression that they have been taught over time is cracking. And what's coming through can be confusing, but also liberating at the very same time. So pay attention because this is really vital to grasp. It can be misconstrued and misread and often is, and it gets blown completely out of proportion because people don't realize what they're dealing with. Okay. And that is my intent in making these videos is that it helps to recognize the energy that's coming through so then we can make better choices, knowledgeable choices about what's our next best step. It's not up to me. I'm just giving you the groundwork so that you can figure out which direction to go in. And it's confusing as things erupt through our hard exterior because we work really hard to put the mask on and make people believe a certain thing about us. But we've also been conditioned, especially the men, to hide our emotions, to be stoic, to not show weakness because, of course, having emotions and feeling things, of course, equates to weakness. That's a lie. Anything above anger or stoicism can be looked at as they're out of control. They lost it. A lot to judgment gets passed. Support, when you're asking for support for your feelings and your emotions, you get humiliated and judged and made fun of. And to be vulnerable is putting ourselves, especially as a divine masculine, in a very dangerous position. It could be. So, how do we get through that? Well, as that exterior is cracking, we want to welcome the change. We crack open and it feels different. You know that something within you is changing and you seem to not have any control over it. And that's only partially true. It's because you're ignorant to it or you've chosen to be ignorant to it where you're not really recognizing what's happening and nor are you asking the questions because you're kind of afraid of the answer kind of a thing. So when these confusing emotions rise, you wanna see it as a good healing release, but they don't. They see it as those negative, judgmental, shame, blame, fear, um, projection things. And so it's up to us to support in a loving, balanced, and compassionate way. So when we see them, the the reaction in the collective, the reaction even in your own family, depending on the dynamics there, can be that there's something wrong, that they're broken, that they have lost their composure, that they're just not acting themselves, they're unstable, they're unsafe, they're slipping into some sort of weakness, or that they're failing at being a man. That this is the overarching feel. When these exteriors crack and the masks start to fall, the internal construct of the divine masculine does not want to be seen as failing. That is not okay. But it's because he has never been given permission to feel. That's the crux of it. So feeling's never been allowed, it's never been received well. And so when a man, a divine masculine starts to feel again, maybe for the first time, it's very unsettling. It's uncomfortable. And they don't have words for it. They just know it's freaking them out. But this is why they pull away because they're like, well, if I don't know what's happening, then how do I tell someone else what's happening? And I don't want them to think whatever they are already thinking. Let me not make that worse. Let me retract into my shell. And they retreat and they feel guilty. And then they get even more confused and they feel shame and frustration and fear of speaking their truth about what's happening. And they feel judgment. All of this stuff starts to swirl around them in this negative energy vortex. And it can become debilitating. The liberating part is whenever they look themselves in the mirror and they realize that they're not broken. That's why I began this video with, you're not broken. You're not. You're literally feeling what you're supposed to be feeling. It's a very, very normal. That's what we need to do. We need to normalize our men feeling something, anything, and responding to it in a positive way instead of freaking out. So the feelings have to be reconciled. When the cracking takes place, it's also relieving pressure, freeing up space, allowing their energy to expand. It becomes strangely empowering. They start to feel more of themselves, even though that's a very foreign feeling. It resonates within their being. So there's some conflict there, but they know it feels different and it feels kind of good in a way. And they start to deepen in their awakening. Now, if they have no idea what their awakening is awakening to, it can be very unsettling. It depends on kind of what they've been exposed to, what they've allowed in terms of information. But he finally gets to feel like this is an upside. This is a good thing. And this is what could be running through their mind. I don't have to carry all this alone. I don't have to pretend anymore. I don't have to put on the armor of protection for my entire emotional body. I get to have emotions. Maybe I don't have to perform anymore. Maybe I can be real. My genuine self will be accepted. I don't have to just be strong. I can be authentic. But this is liberation. Like this is the moments of liberation. And it takes a lot of work to get there, to be quite honest. Those same moments present a lot of confusion. And so they literally swing back and forth like a pendulum, not knowing which direction to turn because of the conditioning and the manipulation on one side and the freedom and the resonance on the other, but they don't know what to do with that. So as we are taught that all events in life are linear, like time is linear, all that's false. The only place time is linear is for us here in Earth School because we're going from low vibration frequency to higher frequency, and we have to have it in a very compartmentalized presentation, otherwise our brains won't accept it. Truth is that life isn't linear, is it? Life goes all over the place. There is no, if you go from A to B, then you're going to get to C. That's not really how it works. That's how we're told it works. But on your way to C, you can go way out of the way to find your B. I've lived it. You've lived it. You know what I'm saying? They pretend it's a straight line. It's not a straight line. If you're living your life in a straight line, you're not living. You're being a robot. So whenever you allow that lack of linear time and lack of linear progression to be okay in your life, that's when you start to get liberated and you start to have freedom because you're breaking out of that mold. You're breaking out of that box. You're telling yourself it's okay to take a right turn and not know where you're going yet. It's okay to just feel your way down the path. Okay. But the duality of this life that we all have grown up in has taught the divine masculine that unpredictability is unsafe and healing is for the weak. To even admit that you need to heal is for the weak. So they flip flop emotionally. They don't feel comfortable in either scenario and they don't know where they belong anymore. But that's just the shadows, right? That's just the shadows coming up to say, yeah, we've all gathered here in your energy body over this lifetime of people telling you things that aren't true, and then you going forth in the world and realizing, I'm following all this advice. My life is not any easier. My life is actually harder. If you feel like you're swimming upstream, you're not on your path. It's meant to increase the friction for you to ask yourself, why is it so hard? If I am where I'm supposed to be, why is it so difficult? That you just give yourself permission to go, okay, I'm going to sit here for a minute. If this is truly for me, it shouldn't feel like nails being put into my skin. It should feel comforting. It should feel motivating. It should feel loving and warm and benevolent. This doesn't feel like that. I think I need to be on a different path. Let me take a different step. But so many men are pulled into the expectation that has been thrust upon them, literally projected upon them, that they don't feel the freedom to even have that thought. And they feel like if they do have that thought, that they're failing as being a man because that's what's been taught to them. That's part of the conditioning. So when the masculine finally starts to feel those emotions that he's been suppressing, His entire life, he's been told, don't feel, don't cry. Men don't cry. How many times have you heard that? And you don't just hear it from like one like rogue uncle, right? The mom says it, the dad says it, the uncle says it, the brothers say it, the cousins, like everybody says it. It's been bombarded. They don't recognize that liberation comes with feeling. It terrifies them. Not at first, anyway. So they need a little bit of reassurance that this foreign energy is not actually causing them to lose control. But underneath the confusion, their soul is very happy that he's feeling again. And in feeling again, that's where they get to start to live. I'll see you again next time on episode 2.